Hi, Scott here from Introvert Power. In this video I'm going to give an iNFJ's take on ENFJs. Because the iNFJ and the ENFJ share the same functions, just with the top two functions and the bottom two functions swapped over, in this video I'm going to refer to both types quite a bit, just to help to sort of create a distinction between the two. Looking at the ENFJ's functional stack, it is really quite an influential stack and I think a powerful one, in that they have a great sort of order of functions that help them to be incredibly effective in their worlds and with those that they influence. And I guess the way I see it is that the ENFJ's NI helps them to be able to really see into the lives of other people. I think also their extroverted feeling does that as well. But that NI sort of comes up with insight and a perspective on a person's world that can be very helpful for that other person. And then the ENFJ has that sort of insight and view, and then can use their extroverted feeling function to impact the other person with that insight in a way that is receivable and helpful. But also on top of that, I think their extroverted sensing auxiliary function helps to ground them in the moment, to help them to be influential in a powerful way in the here and now. So that extroverted sensing function would help to would influence the way in which the ENFJ would use their extroverted feeling function to deliver or influence the other person with their insights from their introverted intuition. One thought that I have in regards to the sort of what do others think of me issue, if you like, is that for the ENFJ it might be more within the context of the here and now, in that there may be more of a focus on what do these people think of me right now, and how can I, what do I need to do to influence that. Whereas I think for the iNFJ, the what do others think is probably more an internal experience. It's more internalized than for the ENFJ, where it's more in the moment. For the iNFJ, it might be more private and more after the moment. And so I think that perhaps for the ENFJ, the what do others think might be more of a temporary, in the moment experience, whereas for the iNFJ, it might be a little bit more enduring or long lasting. I think one of the reasons for that, if that is true, is that for the iNFJ, because of that extroverted sensing inferior function, they're not likely to pick up on some of those sensory cues of what others might be thinking based on sort of body language and what's happening in the moment until later upon reflection. And then also, because it's on reflection, not a lot can be done about it. And so that sense of feeling misunderstood might come later for the iNFJ, whereas I think for the ENFJ, they're going to be a lot more prepared to dealing with misunderstandings or having a sense that others are thinking something that needs to be addressed, if that makes sense, more in the immediate here and now. I think where the ENFJ and the iNFJ and probably some other types are can be sort of separated, I guess, from the other personality types. And I guess I'm being very general here, but without singling out the other types, ENFJs and iNFJs are more people-focused first, and then other things second. Meaning, I guess, money and material things and things like that. Whereas maybe for other types, there's more of a focus on material things or financial goals and things like that, and people help them to gain that resource. Whereas I think for the ENFJ, iNFJ, people are the resource in a sense, and that for the ENFJ, their ability to influence other people and help others to achieve their goals is, to a great extent, the ENFJ's goal, is to be influential and helping others. And that in and of itself is the reward. And because of the ENFJ's ability to do that so effectively, they can put themselves or find themselves in roles in life where they can do that, fulfilling that core need in themselves, and then money, possessions, all of those sorts of things sort of come in as a result of them meeting that sort of core need. In light of that, I think it's interesting that ENFJs have been sort of tagged as potentially quite manipulative. And I think that is a misunderstanding about the ENFJ. One reason for this, I think, is that ENFJs will often say that need is to see the other person meet their need, and that when the other person has their needs met, it actually just meets the ENFJ's need. And I think that's true, because if an ENFJ is manipulating people to get what they want, then the people around them are going to pick up on the fact that they're being manipulated, and that will cause a lack of harmony around the world of the ENFJ, which goes against another core value that ENFJs have, which is for maximum harmony around them at all times. So when an ENFJ says that their primary need is to meet the needs of other people, and that by doing that it actually meets the ENFJ's need, I believe that that's true. No doubt there are ENFJs that are manipulative, but I don't think that's an ENFJ trait. I think that's a human nature trait that some people in all types manifest to some degree, if not to a larger or lesser degree. But I think for the ENFJ, their core need is to meet others' needs first, and that in turn meets their need second. In thinking about this aspect of manipulation, I wonder if, because of ENFJ's FE function and their need to be basically others focused and helping to meet the needs of others, if that sets them up to be manipulated and be used. One thought I have around that is that if that was the case, the ENFJ would probably pick that up quite quickly and deal with it. But I wonder, in a way, if there's a tension in the ENFJ of still trying to meet the need in that other person because of their extroverted feeling function, whilst at the same time intuitively picking up that the other person is using them at the same time. I'm just curious if ENFJs connect with that and maybe put some clarity or some insight around that thought if there's some truth in it. So if what I've just said is true and accurate, then I would think that ENFJs may be more vulnerable to being manipulated by others than they are to being manipulators of other people. I think one of the vulnerabilities that ENFJs have is getting caught up in helping other people to the detriment of their own self-care. And the main reason I think for that is the extroverted feeling function being dominant. I guess I see that for ENFJs with their auxiliary introverted intuition function, they are able to get deep and great insight into the worlds of others, but then their extroverted feeling function might, is vulnerable to feeling responsible to fix those issues or help the other person fix those issues. I think the same vulnerability exists in the iNFJ, with the iNFJ's dominant function being introverted intuition. They've probably got a greater capacity to really understand the inner world of another person first, which means that they're going to see more, but the extroverted feeling function being auxiliary means that there's only a certain amount of energy to invest in helping others with that insight. But I think overall the ENFJ and the iNFJ have both strengths and weaknesses in that regard that I think would cancel each other out. So neither are really neither more vulnerable to getting caught up into the helping others out with problems or helping others get their needs met. I think both are just as vulnerable to getting caught up in that as each other. I think the iNFJ might be more vulnerable to getting caught up with meeting the needs of a few, whereas the ENFJ will probably get caught up in meeting the needs of a lot. So iNFJs might have more energy, if you like, of investing themselves into the worlds of a few people, while the ENFJ will have more energy to invest in numbers of people. But I think to a certain extent the depth might be different. So for the iNFJ, they might be able to go deeper with a few, whereas an ENFJ will be able to go to a certain level of depth with many. And I think both can find themselves getting drained by that approach in an equal way. I think this brings us to another interesting tension for the ENFJ, which is they can spread themselves too thin around a whole lot of different people and even maybe different groups of people, and so in doing that they don't necessarily achieve the depth that they would like with people, and specifically maybe them people that are close to them. So I sort of see an ENFJ with their energy and desire to affect as many people as possible, that's sort of driving them. But they're, in a way, their introverted intuition is looking for depth as well. And there can be a tension between that extroverted feeling affecting the lives of many and the introverted intuition wanting to achieve as much depth as possible. and I sort of see a tension between the two, and a frustration that might come with that. I think if you're someone that's fortunate enough to be in a relationship with an ENFJ, in that you have made a connection, I think it's important that the ENFJ is not restricted in their ability to continue to be in the world influencing others. I think in a way for an ENFJ to have a close and deep relationship can help them to achieve the best of both worlds, which is depth of connection with one, while still being influential in the lives of many. And I think maybe for some people, they might want to have more time with the ENFJ to go deep, or to nurture that depth, which is very necessary and very important. But if it's at the cost of their, in a way, their extroversion and their desire to impact the lives of the many, then I think ultimately it's not going to be healthy. And I think also for the ENFJ, if they've got someone in their life that they have a deep connection with, is to remember to nurture that, to give that time and attention, and not neglect that while they try to affect and influence the lives of the many. I think one of the advantages that the ENFJ does have over the iNFJ is that for the ENFJ, their extroverted feeling function can sort of help to camouflage their introverted intuition, meaning that whilst they're engaging and making everybody feel comfortable and connecting with people, their introverted intuition is gathering data. It's picking up on things and noticing dynamics between people, or noticing something that somebody said that might suggest something deeper, and all of that sort of thing. But all of that kind of goes on behind the extroverted function. Whereas for the iNFJ, their introverted intuition is more present, if you like, in the room. So it's ahead of the extroverted feeling function. So there may be people that feel analysed by an INFJ, or feel exposed in front of an INFJ, because that introverted intuition is listening at a certain frequency, if you like, and then in front of the extroverted feeling function. So I think for the ENFJ, that can be an asset, because I think it helps the ENFJ to be influential and people focused, in the here and now and in the moment, while at the same time picking up on depth and picking up on the inner worlds of others. And then when that intuitive insight, if you like, sort of comes up in the ENFJ, it can then be used delivered, if you like, through their extroverted feeling function in a way that would probably be very natural. It wouldn't really have a jarring effect at all. It would all happen very, very naturally. I think the same can be said for the INFJ, when the INFJ has insight and uses their extroverted feeling function to communicate. But I think just generally the reserved introverted intuition function for the INFJ might make others feel a little bit more exposed than an ENFJ's FE function in a similar sort of environment. I think the other aspect or dynamic to that is the extroverted sensing function for the ENFJ, with it in the auxiliary position, means that they're more, I get a sense that they're more able to action whatever it is that they're sensing or feeling in the moment. I think some of the pluses and the minuses to this is that for the ENFJ, their extroverted sensing function would be able to pick more things up happening in the moment and respond to them in whatever way they feel they need to. So in that respect, it can be really helpful. However, if in a situation where that extroverted sensing function picks something up, and it in a way it's like it bypasses the intuition, it goes straight to the extroverted feeling function. I think there's room there for that more sharper, if you like, FE judgment function, pushing something out there a little more strongly than perhaps it needs to. But I'd say that's rare or unlikely, but possible. So that's my take on the world of an ENFJ. I'd be really interested in people's feedback and comments about what I've shared. I'd encourage you to please like the videos and feel free to subscribe to the channel. I endeavour to do videos on all the other types in the future. And thanks for watching, and click the link for part 2.